Heyo! I'm going to try my hand at making a fountain pen desk tidy. I have some ideas. This is also my first video that I'm recording and editing on my phone, so this is probably going to be more akin to 2007 YouTube than anything. This is a simple cube with pegs coming out so the pen can hold across, a little bit of storage on top. This is just an elongated version with this little lip on the outside, which is more akin to what I'm going to actually be going for. This one had the pen storage horizontally in the center, didn't actually like it, skipping that one. This is more like a box picture frame that I can put on the wall or stand leaning backwards, but will have no internal storage for ink. This is a more interesting version of the elongated one, but less storage. This is a super cheap one that you can buy from a lot of places. They're very flimsy. And this is the very expensive one on Etsy, which sells for an ungodly amount of money. Because of the material I'm working with, I had to be conscious on how I cut and glue these together. So I could have cut them all the same length and just had this crease down one side. Didn't like the look of it. Did it more of a staggered, varying lengths, more like a brick wall. But then ended up on this pattern, a herringbone pattern, which I've sketched in more detail a bit later. Here's a more refined sketch of the idea I was going for. It's just the elongated pattern again. It's going to have storage on the inside with doors on the back that open up. I'm probably going to use the hinges of glasses to use on the back of the doors. Just using what I've got. It's going to have this lip at the top, just for storage on the top. And it's also going to have this little section at the front, just because I think it's more visually interesting. I do also plan on adding felt into the top and foam on the bottom just for grip. I tried various herringbone patterns. I started with 6.5 centimeters, thought it was too big, went down to 4 centimeters, which I do like, so I'm going to stick with 4. The colours will be different to this. These were just the markers that I had available, but as a concept, this kind of idea. I'm probably going to paint it using acrylic paints. If I had an infinite budget for this, I'd be using various coloured wood dyes most likely. I think it would look the best. But again, using what I've got. Also a herringbone pattern, except 2 thick. Then I also have the 3 thick, which I will be going with the 3. I think it's just more interesting. I did try this pattern on it using 3 different colours. Didn't like it. So then I went through a template just so I could see what each one looked like individually without any colour on it. And then finally, I ended up on this design. This little zigzag is higher than I want it to be. I want it to be lower down. This at the top is going to be the lip for the extra storage on the top. And these at the sides are just so I don't actually have to have the pattern wrapping around the sides to make life much easier for me. So first things first, I need to take all of these and cut them all down to this. I already have one at the right size, so I could probably just use this one as a template. And then try to cut it. I do only show the first few pieces being cut and sanded, and then for video's sake the rest is fast forwarded. Okay, this is all I've done now over several days. It's a bit of a mess because I threw some mini cheddars which made a nice big puff of smoke and ruined my beautiful stacks. But I did test out burning the sticks to see what it looked like. This one is just burned, this is burned and then sanded, so it's a lighter tone, but I'm just going to paint them. I've just got to make sure I have enough. So I'm going to test by doing a layout and see how it looks. Okay, the small dilemma is some sticks are just the tiniest bit millimeters skinnier than the others, but as long as it fits in the realm of it'll do, I think it might work. Now it's just time to paint them all. I have a bunch of the cheapest art supplies I could find at my local craft stores, and I'm going to do my best to try and make these 5 colours and then paint every single one individually before gluing. So let's see how that goes. I'm going to have to cut more and paint more, but for now, I want it to be double layer at least for strength. So I need to cut all of these down 4 inches in length, and I need to cut enough that it's 7 inches across. At this point I just started gluing on the pattern, copying from the sketch I did. Gluing on the first sticks of the face was quite a challenging part because it determines how the rest of the pattern will look and if it's at the correct angle. So of course I just eyeballed it, and I think it turned out okay. So this is the result after cutting off the edges and sanding. I did use way too much glue, so I did have to sand the face of it as well. And as you can see, it is not 90-degree flush edges. And as much as I only just bought a tool in order to fix this, it's already all cut and glued. So we'll put this down to handmade charm. And because this is quite flimsy, I'm going to do hours more cutting, just so I can reinforce it a little bit with a little bit extra wood, an extra layer. We have got progress. Far more sturdier. Feels much better. Progress. Progress. Now for the varnish that I'm going to put over it, I was going to do some boiled linseed oil because it has a slight darkening effect. But then I learned you cannot use oil based on acrylic paint because it will never dry. So instead I have this water based, hoping it just slightly darkens the cover and gives it a nice layer on the front and just doesn't paint over everything. But to test, I have a little test sample. I'm going to do a coat, let it dry for a few hours, give it a little sand, give it an extra coat, see how it looks. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to go buy some clear varnish and use that instead. I'm assuming anyone who works with wood knows how this is going to turn out, but it was a failure. Did not have the effect I wanted. So I went and created 2 more test samples. One with a darkish red-brown wash over it, which I do like, but it kind of muddies the colours. So then I've just put a clear varnish over both of them, which I think makes it not too bad. For now, I've got to make the inside part, which is what all these are for. I'm going to set these out 7 inches long and then do a layer going the opposite direction with these, and then a third layer on top of another strip. Here's one I made earlier, but not sanded, just to see if I could. I need to make another one of these. These are complete. And then the plan with these is they're going to be the top and bottom. I think I'm going to have to repaint over these because there was so much excess glue over the top. I had to sand them, and because I sanded them, I'm going to have to paint over them again. They have all been repainted. I ran out of brown halfway through, so I had to go buy some more. These I had to repaint the front of them all, and to make sure I didn't mess up, I used this tiny little brush. A little pattern goes along the bottom. Ta-da! And now I'm going to take these 2 pieces and add some felt. I think I'm just going to glue on like this and then cut off the excess at the end. Now I realise the next part of the process is going to entail so much more cutting. The idea is I'm going to cut some pieces for the edges, just to hide the edges. But for the top section, I was tempted just to glue one at the front, top and back. I have the idea of gluing them slightly off, so I end up making a channel that I slide over the top. Okay, this is what I am working with so far. It's going to be 5 layers in total. But I've got the 3 layers right now that I've just stacked as a 2 on top of each other. And then I've got this one which is slightly off. And this is excess I'm going to cut right at the top there. It's just going to sit over the top. Like that. That is the plan anyway. I was going to glue both and then try and slide this in. But I think it might be a lot easier to just glue that as is. And then glue it on top after the fact. I've done it just long enough to do one side piece and one end piece. Okay, through a nice long process of stripping down the entire excess over the top, cutting off both ends, and sanding it down for a long time, this is now what I'm left with. Now I just need to make another one of these, and then I will have to glue 2 more layers matching this side on this side. And to show you the process of how I did this, awkwardly gluing a long strip. And then now we glue on top, but slightly off center. This one slightly overlaps, so I'm going to add this just so it glues flat. Layer 2. And the 3rd layer, which is just the same thing again. Back at it again with the sewing and sanding. Sanded. Beautiful. As good as it's gonna get. Now I don't know how to connect these, on whether I should leave them square and just kind of put them together as 4 walls, or to try and eyeball 45-degree corners and glue them. 45-degree corners would look nicer, I think. I don't know how valid that is by eyeballing it, so I think I may have to just stick 4 corners together. Now before I glue these on, I'm going to try and get off as much sawdust and whatnot as possible, just using a little bit of water. This is glue time. I'm going to put some of these out, just so it's level when I do glue it. The bottom. So okay, I just need to weigh this down for a while. Now it's just time to glue on the 2 final strips on the back of all of them. Which is just going to be this. Slightly line them up differently. Moment of truth. Moment of truth. Moment of truth. Oh yes. Next in line is to saw the edges of each of them and then sand them. So I might just do it like this. So I'm just going to do this with all of them and then sand on this little block of sandpaper. So I was putting some pieces together just to test and see what it would look like. And then I realised I knew cutting it felt off. It felt wrong to cut it the way I did. Now in every corner, I now have this. I was meant to leave the other ones slightly longer, either the front or the side. I think the best option would be to glue a bunch of these together, make a square, sand it so it's squared off, and just put a square in each corner. Might be the best option to salvage what I've done. I'm going to leave these light coloured for now. I can always paint them at the end if I prefer it. I'm very conflicted on it. For now, I'm going to have to cut them all down to this, put them all together into a square, sand it down, one on each corner. They are cut. My poor finger. What I'm going to do is stack them 5 tall and possibly one on each side. And then once I sand it all down, it should be nice. They're not perfectly square, but that's okay. It's gonna go on all of the corners. It's not perfectly the right size. Oh, this is why it's probably not best to eyeball measurements. Stuck it together with double-sided tape before I do anything permanent. But luckily, the inside part does fit. Not perfectly, but enough. I'll probably do this one as the front, which means the back I'm going to have to cut again because I want it to be a door that opens up. I'm thinking is along this seam here at the top, just saw across here. I didn't know whether to have it to get a tiny drill and just add little paper clips in just each side to use as a hinge, so then the entire side just comes down. I don't own a drill, so I can't do that. But what I do have is on old pairs of glasses, I have the hinges from them, because that's the only hinges I can think that I have at all, unless I buy some. So I'll take apart some glasses, maybe. So while looking through all of my old pairs, this broke when I was younger, and I had to, like the old style nerds, tape the middle together. I don't remember how I broke them. It might have been from getting roundhouse kicked in the face, or I think it might have just been trying to clean them. But either way, these are the hinges that I have. They're the best ones and the biggest I've got out of all of the old pairs that I have. A lot of my old pairs are them awful tiny metal frames that I had as a small child. So these are the best ones. But then, one of the cases fell apart while I was looking through them all because they're so old. And this one has this. There was a silver one where this top part came out, and that's how I noticed the hinges in here are kind of just like clipped on and just fold out the clips, and then I have a big long hinge. Make 2 cuts, one on the top, one down here somewhere, just so I have a door that opens out. I've got it in a vise, it just doesn't make it through, so I'll have to flip it and finish that, and then I'll cut just a bit further down this side. Honestly, the first cut was not the straightest, because it is getting late and I want to try and get it cut before 8 PM. This side I've done a nice, so I know exactly where to cut. Now hopefully it's not wonky. I am a sweaty boy. Cuts weren't the straightest, which I'm probably going to live to regret, but we'll put it down to a handmade charm. This cut is so not straight. That's going to infuriate me. What I've done is not rush and took my time and did it tomorrow very slowly. where I discover the hinges won't fit, so I have to cut out a divot at the bottom. And now in hindsight realise I probably should have done this on the inside to hide the hinge altogether. But you live and learn for the next project. Phone died on me last night, but what I did at the top here is what I wish I did at the bottom. All it took was doing an extra little bit of wood on both sides, which I do actually think kind of looks pretty decent to fill it out. Other than what I did at the bottom, which is add this, which you're not going to be able to see anyway because I'm going to put foam over this as the bottom piece. It should be fine. Kind of annoying that this isn't centered. I didn't center it. Of course I didn't because I was in a rush yesterday trying to get it done, which was silly. And I was going to add magnets inside. I bought some so it would magnet closed, but it kind of doesn't need to because it's kind of perfect fit right now. You can't actually see this mess up from inside, which is useful. So I'm going to make a little handle. All I'm going to do probably is put a bunch of these over each other, 3 or 4 tall, just glue it to the side, have a tiny little handle I can just pinch. Then I need to add hooks or legs or whatever that come off the front. Nice. Here's the handle drying, and then I'm just gonna sand it and stick it to the side. And for the little hooks on the front, I have this 1 inch long at a 30-degree angle. Now it's just time to glue them on. The fact it isn't central will infuriate me. Oh my goodness. Oh. Here I am measuring where to put the pegs on the front. I do think 3 would look better, but I wanted 4 for more storage and I wanted them evenly spaced, so I decided to measure this one out. This was nice and simple. I just pressed down firmly to leave an imprint on the foam, which I then cut out with a ruler to leave nice straight edges, and then just simply glue that onto the bottom. It's time to test it out. I've run out of fountain pens, so I'm just going to use whatever else I have. I'm still very conflicted on whether to paint this dark brown, this colour. I do prefer dark coloured wood, but I guess I could always sand it and repaint it. It is clear varnish time. It is complete. It is complete. Doing that extra coat has actually made this So much sturdier. I've done 2 chords. Now. I'll try and get some pretty shots. It's solid. Also as a little treat, because you might find this satisfying. This glue nipple. Just completely dry glue. Also, to fill it out and for a job well done, I follow someone called Paul Heaston on Instagram. And I've always wanted an ink wash, because this does not work with liquid in any way, shape or form. This pigmented ink. It's not dye based, it's pigmented based, which means I should be able to use ink washes and water with it. I'll try and find somewhere with a backdrop and try and get some pretty angles of it. Big thank you for watching my first ever project and video. I've had to learn to edit throughout making this video, all on my phone. So I do hope you've enjoyed and have fun trying to make this yourself. If there's any advice or feedback, it would be very appreciated. And here's to hopefully making many more. Have a good one.